Trinidadians could never tell me again that Carnival is in we blood.
Yeah.
And that we live in this thing.
Yeah. But then they will say, Grenada cases spike after they jump up.
And they did not care. If
And I have no choice but to kind of defend Travis Scott in this situation. This is, again, only a blie. I think, it's about time I live this thing and let you all free up. While the cases are rising, then what you're saying is what you were doing before made no sense or makes no sense. Or you're doing now still. But I believe if a woman was heading that institution or that organization, I think she would not have made such a statement. Because the statement he is making is that he believes that they should reach a point of prioritizing vaccinated patients when it comes to ICU beds.
Right. The nurses have to prepare themselves in a very different way to deal with COVID patients. It's the suit that they need to wear is very uncomfortable. It's very hot. It's very stressful. And when the ward begins to fill up, the work gets unending for them.
Right.
And in their minds, they are doing this to deal with people who could have prevented this by taking a vaccine.
Yeah. So you're trying to tell me that farmer
have a big asterisk next to his road march? Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
yes. A big, humongous asterisk next to it, yes.
Views expressed in this podcast are simply the opinions of the guests and the hosts from their perspective. These opinions aren't necessarily facts, nor with the intent to defame any person or establishment. This is not legal, medical, financial, nor spiritual advice. Hey, welcome back. It's the Alternative Perspectives Podcast, the app 868. Check us out on any one of your podcasting platforms and, of course, on YouTube as well. If you want to see what our faces look like and probably see the video clips as well. Yeah, some of the clips that we may play during the session inside the podcast. Feel free. So, Naldo, I'm here. Jude is here as well.
Yep.
Yeah, and we're touching on a few topics today. Had a very interesting week ahead. I mean, at a point you was like, hey, what is that kind of boring week? But then things just started to unfold and wow.
I was drawing blanks, trying to find topics to discuss, and then afterwards I just had to come fast and furious. So we'll see how we could dice it up today.
Yeah, I guess this week just ended off on a high note.
And I mean, also, I guess what it is that you start to see things that you thought was insignificant start to garner.
Right.
Or some traction out there.
Right. I guess to the regular person, because at the end of the day, we try to stay relevant and we try to speak about things that, a lot of people could relate to. I mean,
and try to bring different perspectives. As
of course, most of all.
Yeah.
So, first of all, we want to jump off. We are in November.
Right.
Getting ready to head into the Christmas season. People already started...
Done any Christmas season.
Yeah, people started to play their Christmas music and whatnot. And then, right after the Christmas season, you're looking at Carnival. Well...
No, we're supposed to be. We would have normally been.
So you don't think we're looking at Carnival right now? Or you're not looking at Carnival right now?
I don't know what to look at right now other than Christmas. But I don't think we'll be looking at our Carnival season next year.
So, no, even when I say, because last year we had a kind of Carnival season. We had a 1/8 of a Carnival season.
Yeah, dotishness. That's what
it had soca, not so. It had road march. It had road march and soca Monacan thing.
That's not Carnival, brother. That's not Carnival. So
you're trying to tell me that farmer
have a big asterisk next to his road march? Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
a big, humongous asterisk next to it. Yes.
Yeah, I can't remember what song he sang. What song he sang? It was Backyard.
Yes, Backyard Jam.
Yeah. That was only last year.
It have an old feel to it. It does remind you of Big People Party, so it feel like an older song.
Oh, okay. Yeah, all right.
Ooh. So that was the tune that one road march,
Right, that feel like it was really a few years ago,
Yeah.
Damn, this pandemic.
It doesn't, as I say, it doesn't help that the song have an old feel to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, you're saying it's Farmer after all these years. I think Farmer would disagree. I think Farmer would disagree. Farmer believes that road march, and I think even when Soca won too, it had a Soca. What it had?
A Groovy, I think he won. He won a Groovy at that time,
No, I'm talking about the one last year.
Oh, I don't know not more than anything else. I think they had a road march and that was that. But yes.
A road march without a road. Anyhow.
Right. So, but we know we didn't have a carnival season last year and we ain't having a carnival this year.
So, the thing is, last year for carnival.
Well, this year. We keep saying last year, but it's
This year,
last carnival season year.
Yeah. So, this year, which is 2021 carnival, remember, Kes had
a concert.
A concert. I think it was about 3 or 4 days in Songforge. I mean, I think you might see some things like that again.
Yeah, I think you'll see things like that, but I don't think you could call that carnival, and I don't think it would be anything that could even be compared to carnival in terms of the impact that it will have on the culture or the economics of the country. So that's why I wouldn't call what they will have carnival. I'm 100% certain they will try to have something, but I don't think they'll have a carnival.
All right. So the thing is, Kes was asked this question on the Breakfast Club. For the people who don't know the Breakfast Club is one of the top morning shows. It is the top morning show still. Yeah, I think so.
In urban
radio in the United States of America, syndicated across plenty states, and that's normally where Charlemagne is. Charlemagne wasn't on this interview, but he was interviewed by DJ Envy and Angela E. And Angela E. was asking him, "Do you think it will have a carnival?" So let's take him a piece of the clip here and see what's going on. You go there?
Yeah.
All right.
All these artists, and you have to go that one. There are choices. So come to Trinidad knowing that there are choices and there are different routes, and everybody takes their own route, you know?
It's probably not going to happen, you think, in next year?
I don't think so. I mean, I would be... If it was to happen...
I think it's going to happen.
It will happen, but obviously not in the same form.
It has to. No, I mean, because it's not right? You look at all these other things that happen. You look at Rolling Louds and your Coachellas and your... all these other festivals and things that they have where they have 30, 40, 50,000 people. Don't it seem odd that they allow those events to happen, but you can't have Carnival?
I mean, I would say that the difference between that and Carnival is that Carnival is a freedom. Carnival really and truly lies within the words freedom, and it's still rolling out. It's still in a box. It's still in a box. It's still not what Carnival is.
You want to make sure you
could have...
Hold on. Just now, hold on. I think somebody could misconstrue what he's saying there in the most wrong way possible. Like a foreigner now, like, you know when they say people in a box? Usually a kind of negative connotation that are like you're not thinking outside the box.
He made it sound as he made it sound like a figurative thing as opposed to a physical thing.
Yeah. Because anyhow, let's go back into it.
Yeah, I could have $0 in my pocket and I can have a boss time on Carnival Monday and Tuesday by just where I end up. You know, and that's the joy of it. It's sort of like, I'm on the street corner, this hangout, we call it a lime, end up being really cool.
If they could protest outside the Capitol building with thousands of people and nobody getting tested or wearing masks, they should be able to have Carnival.
But you got to understand, if the virus spreads on an island, it could really devastate the whole island.
That's another thing we're dealing with as size as well.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different logistics I think we also dealing with. So for it in its true nature, I don't think it would be the same.
What about if everybody wear masks? They can wear their flag or the island.
It'd be too hot. It's so hot. You want to be all hot outside? That's impossible.
You want to break away. Like if I was to be real of what Carnival is, everything is gonna be a tear down in a sense. It's freedom. It's freedom of expression. It's no mask. It's
that way you're saying Carnival's never coming back then.
No.
It will. I think it will. I think it's too soon to say it's gonna come back as it was. No, but it's definitely 100-year-old tradition.
Right.
So
it's not going anywhere.
So people doing something anyway. Like I definitely would do something small. Like we did something over the carnival as well.
I could see them doing it and containing it to the island more and like
that can happen
and not letting people come in, but having something just for the smaller like that. Because that's what happens is people come from here. And then they come to the islands, and then that's how it's spread over there. You know what I'm saying?
Because you got to get tested before you come in.
Yeah, because you got tested doesn't mean you don't have it. You could have gotten it, and then it tested negative, and then you get there, and then it shows up 3 days later. You don't know.
I think that's a good thing. Yeah.
We go pause in there. Hold up, pause early. All right, so they touch on many good points, and I'm not a big fan of Angela, to be real honest with you. I think she's a super virtual signaler, in my opinion. But I think she made some incredible points in this interview.
I don't understand why she keeps why she keeps saying that it's spreading on an island makes a difference though? Like, what difference does it make if it spreads on an island?
All right. So I think in her saying that, I think what she was probably hinting to is that an island might not, one, it's smaller, so the spread, she thinks it will spread faster. Two, I think she thinks that we probably, as being an island, third world, we may not have the medical facility and capacity to deal with something like that.
Okay.
That's what I think. I could be wrong.
Well, okay. Maybe you giving her the benefit of the doubt there. So it wouldn't necessarily make a difference whether it was an island or not. But if it's third world or not, it's probably what she was trying to allude to.
Right.
Okay. All right. Cool.
Right. I think. Right. No. All right. You jump in and then I'll.
I just couldn't stop laughing at DJ Envy. He keep comparing things that have nothing to do with Trinidad. So if they could allow people to protest in front of the campus, it's like, but that's not the same people in Trinidad. So they're having those things in the United States. Now I get what he means from the perspective of, well, listen, if it's happening. If in the United States if you could have carnival in Miami, you could have a free carnival, a free up carnival in Miami. Now, I understand that they had to test to get into the venue for the parade.
Right. Yeah.
But, there were lots of fetes and parties where that was not necessarily the case.
But some of the bigger fetes, that was the case though.
Right.
The bigger ones, probably not the smaller fetes, but the big branded fetes.
Right. They would have that to please people.
And the testing was free.
Right. But, if they could have that, if they could have all sorts of events, then in his mind he's thinking, why can't you have carnival? But he's acting as if it's the same people who are making the decisions, which is crazy. So the people in America making their decisions and the people in Trinidad making completely different people. But as for what Kes is saying in response in terms of, he could have been a little bit clearer in the way he articulated his answer. Yeah. Because they would be left confused by
carnival is freedom.
Yeah.
Whoa.
I know, and I mean, that is correct, and that is the essence of carnival, but you could have been a little bit more specific to explain why the logistics of Trinidad Carnival in the form that it normally is you can't compare that to Rolling Loud and any other music festival.
So what he could have said is, for one, and I don't think he even, yes, he could have compared it to Rolling Loud, but he could have also compared it to the rest of carnivals, like,
right, yes.
He could have said, listen, like in Miami Carnival, this happens in a venue. The parade is in a venue. So people could be tested and checked and whatnot.
He could control what's happening because everyone comes to one location.
Right. And then he could have gone on to say, no, in Trinidad, this is basically a street party. Anybody could hit the street, because
at any point in time.
You went into saying, you could have no money in your pocket and you could have a time.
But and you heard no response from either Yi or DJ Envy, because I could tell they were kind of confused. He wasn't being clear. What he should have simply said, listen, there's an element of carnival where there are, fetes at venues and that could be controlled. But carnival Monday and Tuesday is a completely different thing. That's a free for all. That's people come from any location and the party basically happens on the street. It's uncontained. So you can't have that and have testing and, I hear DJ Envy actually suggests people wear masks.
Well, I mean, to be fair, most people wear masks already. So
nobody wear no mask on Carnival Monday and Tuesday.
I mask, they mask.
I come out on plenty Juve with mask on and couldn't stand to wait for more than 5 minutes, you know what I mean? And you're drinking and you're partying. Who wear masks? So that's not, I think people, because we wear costumes, they think, you could just incorporate a costume into a mask into the costume.
What they were saying is, people could wear like the flags, the bandanas. And God, that's something you see plenty over there. They don't do it whole day, obviously.
Precisely, they don't. And let's not confuse a mask with a bandana. You understand? If you're putting a bandana on your face, you are simply, that is theater. That is not a mask, you know what I mean? By the public health regulations
here,
could get away with it.
That is acceptable. That is accepted. That is,
which in and of itself shows how foolish some of these things are. Some of these regulations are. But yes, but I agree with him in general that we aren't going to have carnival return as we know carnival to be. unless there's some huge developments over the next couple months. And there might be, but I guess we could get to that later.
There might be some huge developments where it might have a carnival.
Yes, there might be some huge developments that could change the trajectory of the pandemic. Pfizer just released or just announced the release of their antiviral.
Right. And I guess we were jumping in that just now, but my thing is, all right, I guess I could have it in some form because anybody making costume, anybody designing costume.
No, I mean, listen, if by January 15th, things look different, the world is saying, oh, okay, well, the world is back to being safe now. The health authorities are saying, oh, it's all right to be safe. Yeah, they could throw something together in a few weeks and people will be, and okay, it may not have 1 million visitors from all over the world and all of that, but we could have parades on the street, people whining behind music trucks.
A Jersey Massacre.
We could knock that together in no time. No time.
I do have a lot of faith in this government, but
not the government, we promote once they allow it. Once they allow it,
I do have the faith in the government to allow it.
But like I said, they won't take the step. They won't take the leap if nobody else is doing it. But what I'm saying is, if things happen that change the trajectory of the pandemic, and it can happen, then they could be pressured into doing it. People could start to say, "Boy, Wapham, listen, everywhere saying this thing done. We have vaccines and treatments."
I still can't see that wrapping up in basically 2 months. You're saying because today's the 7th November. So
I'm not saying it's likely. I'm saying it can, and if it does, then we could put something. We could have something. We could have something. But I started by saying I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah. So all right. On a more positive note, Rowley say he has no intentions of trying to extending
the curfew past November.
Yeah. Right. Well, trying to extend it. Because he would have to go to Parliament and get more support from the opposition. And so I say trying. I think, I'm watching the wording in a lot of these stories and, how they unfold. And I'm starting to feel like you're making people believe that if you wanted to, you could have carry the curfew on longer, but no, I'm giving you all a ease up. I'm giving you all a bly. I'm
Well, you don't think that's exactly what he's trying to convey?
But that's what I say, right? And I find like that's what he's trying to convey, and I like, whoa, Bridget, we're doing. You're making it sound like this was totally up to you.
I think he thinks it's up to him, or I think he thinks as if he feels as if you should think it's up to him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you understand? In other words, a different type of leader might feel a bit uncomfortable lording their power over you. Not these days, because leaders all over the world seem to be getting the chest, pumping out their chest a little bit and basically acting like the citizens are their subjects as opposed to the citizens. But normally a different kind of leader would have been uncomfortable expressing it in that kind of way. But I don't think he has any discomfort acting like he's your daddy. He's the father of the nation, So I think that's exactly what he's trying to convey. Like, listen, I am the one who's feeling as if I'm going to give all a bly, Not that the situation doesn't warrant it or that I've heard your cries or anything like that. No. If I felt this thing could go on forever, I could really keep this thing going forever. I think that's precisely the sentiment he wants to convey.
Wow. All right.
You're surprised by that though?
Well, because I think a lot of people know that for him to extend it past the 6 months, he would have needed the opposition support. Well, so for him to come and try to put that across.
Well, I think what he's trying to say is that, listen, if I felt as if it was warranted, I would push for it, right? And I would make sure it happened. But I feel to give all the bly, so I feel like I pressure all enough. So I ain't gonna take that step. But don't feel for a second that if I wanted to take that step, I wouldn't. I think what he's trying to convey is that he's not feeling pressured by anybody. He's not even making this decision necessarily because he felt it didn't work. He given all a bly. He felt up pressure all be thankful to him because he's giving you a bly.
But I think if that is the sentiment he's trying to push, I think that is pretty dangerous in a country with smart people. Reason being, we have seen the numbers recently starting to climb significantly, right? The COVID cases, they have...
And there's the stories about the shortages in the ICUs.
Right, obviously, so the shortage in the ICU did it. Oh, God, pressure, that one more bed and all kind of craziness, right? So, if you were locking down and having the curfew because you were worried about the ICU beds, you were worried about the healthcare system being overrun, you were worried about the cases, and then now we're coming to say, well, nah, I gain already blind now. And not making it seem like you're going on. Then I know if I come with this mountain, the opposition will push back against it. So if you want to make it seem like this is, I gain only a blind, I think, it's about time I live this thing and let you all free up. While the cases are rising, then what you're saying is what you were doing before made no sense or makes no sense. Or you're doing now still.
I mean, a lot of things they've done has shown that.
Well, I agree, but so is it that the people of Trinidad and Tobago are just not wise enough?
Well, I think I would have said so, but a few conversations I've been having over the past couple of weeks, and overhearing people having, I feel is not that people aren't realizing. I think people just feel powerless. Because I had a conversation with some older women by the Arima Hospital last week, Saturday. Right? They had come to drop off packages for patients who were in the COVID ward. And there was a whole process you had to go through to drop off the packages. You had to fill out form and all that nonsense, right? So it was a long time we spent outside there. Now, mind you, there was no social distancing in front of the guard booth where you have to handle these things, but whatever. And they were older. I think if, I could speak frankly and say they appeared to be the PNM demographic.
Right.
And some of the sentiments they expressed kind of showed that they were in that bracket. But they didn't appear to be very convinced with what was taking place. They found a lot of what was taking place wasn't making. I was surprised to hear them express it. Not just the mask and car thing, but they questioning what is going on with schools and how little young children are being kept away from schools. And these are two people who came to drop items for relatives
who have COVID.
Yeah, who have COVID in the COVID ward, right? So you would think they would be the most, trepidatious then. They would be like, nah, we don't want this thing to spread, so keep them children home. But they were like, nah, listen, the children had to go to school. You know what I mean? How long we going to keep them out for? And now you're telling me, now you're sending the children back out to school who not vaccinated, and they're still mixing with the vaccinated children while you're talking about safe zone story.
Right,
This not making any sense. And one fella who overheard them talking to me, he jumped in and was like, I didn't see as they open the safe zone thing, the numbers jumping up again. So that them thing in no safe zone, don't study them. Now, listen, I'm not telling the government to close down these things or, listen, at this stage, I don't even bother to even suggest nothing to this government. Right. So, not that they would listen anyway, but
I have some suggestions to them though.
But,
like, resign.
well, that might be. But the thing is, who's going to step in? Who's going to go in their place? Because
dog, we can find like a few brethren, and I think we could do this, dog.
I think there are lots of people you could put to do a better job, but are they
willing to go up?
And are they do they have the political acumen to gain democratic election? You understand? Because if this lot move, the next squad is who will take their place. And
Jesus Lord,
you understand? So what's the difference there? But I was kind of heartened to hear the conversations go that way, because it seemed like, and then I was speaking to another older person again, another person who you would think tend to be like, nah, let's just follow whatever the government says.
Yeah.
And they were very, very critical of what they were seeing. So I no longer think that a lot of Trinidadians are on board with this, but I think they feel powerless. They feel like, well, what I could do? What can I do? I could shout, I could raise my voice, but these people seem hell-bent on doing what they want to do anyway. So I think it's not a case of they're buying into it, but they just feel powerless.
Oh, okay. I mean, probably, and as you can consider, because we're in a state of emergency, protesting.
Yeah.
And
that could lead you down a very dark path if we decide, well, you want to engage in some sort of peaceful protest during this time without the necessary permission being granted. And in the absence of the police commissioner, I don't know who's even going to grant it now.
Right.
So it can't do that exactly because, you're under state of emergency.
I mean, I would hope that people feeling this way would now wake up. Will now wake up going forward. Well, again, more than likely, they say that Keith Rowley wouldn't be going up again for election. I think he say this is his last.
Okay.
So it doesn't matter what we do now, because I guess the next person who comes here, well, this person different, so we'll vote for this person instead. I don't know.
I think people feel as if the government is making a lot of missteps, but I still don't feel that they feel anybody else would have done a better job. So they're not necessarily, they're not angry enough to say, well, we'll vote this squad out, because they're just upset with some of the things they're doing, but they don't feel as if the other side would have given them, would have done a better job. And a good example of that, as I was reading in an article just the other day, where I can't remember his name, but apparently he acts as a shadow health minister, right? Which is an opposition member, who, acts as exactly that, a shadow health minister. And he was criticizing the government's, actions, considering the recent rise and the threat it's posing now to the healthcare system. And he started by making some good points, and he just questioning essentially, if somebody's safe zones, same thing the guy was mentioning in by the hospital. If somebody's safe, if this rise coinciding with the opening of safe zones means that the safe zones are contributing to the spread. And he asked a good question. He said, listen, if what the government is doing is saying, well, we just throwing caution to the wind at this stage, wherever we had to go forward, if people get in the hospital, people dead, wherever, we have to move forward. Then that is in a way admitting that all you were doing all the time was wasting time. You understand? You were just unnecessarily putting people in under pressure for no reason.
And crashing the economy.
The economy for no reason. And at that point, up to that point, he's like, yeah, all right, this man talking sense. But then he went on to talk about, the government needs to put in a digital system. So because he seemed to be suggesting that people are getting into the safe zones who aren't vaccinated.
Okay.
And that is what is contributing to the spread, and therefore it's because the government don't have this thing on board, and they're not working with the private sector to get the digital things.
So he probably, I think he probably friends with people with the digital handband one.
Might be, or he just criticized it for criticizing's sake, because to me it seemed as if the opposition were taking the position that they didn't want any segregation, they didn't want any safe zone and non-safe zone people, segregation of people. But all of a sudden he's now talking about he doesn't feel segregation is a problem. He just think we're not segregating good enough. We should have
digital
technology, making sure nobody gets.
We have the best form, the best way of identifying.
And then he says something vague like, the government they don't want the government has to open up the economy, but they have to do it more wisely. What is more wisely? How much more conservatively they could open the economy? The beaches still closed. You understand? They opening businesses and even with vaccine, with safe zones, they're still limiting the capacity. And so how much more conservative they could be? But that is what is coming from the next side, because they don't have plans. They just have critiques.
You understand what I'm saying?
I can't remember his name. Okay. I'll find it for you. But, he's the health minister, the shadow health minister, I should say.
Anyhow, just don't vote for he.
Well, I don't know if he's well,
not yet. But the way he's talking is like he has political aspirations.
Dr. Rishad Sicharan, he's actually the member of parliament for Caroni East.
Wow.
So he is an MP.
So somebody voted for him.
Yes.
Okay, guys. Right, you will have the opportunity in the next 4 years to, not select this clown, right? Nevertheless, so as we talking about ICU bed and Bacchanal,
Right, yes.
so we have the president of the Registered National Registered Nurses Association or some kind of thing like that, right? A dude, right? Why is a dude in charge of that, though? Yeah, and that's a pretty sexist statement, but...
Yeah, I'm not going to say they are male nurses, brother?
Yeah, I know, but they're in the minority, so...
I guess, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, let a woman deal with that.
It might show that is really an example of sexism. Even in an industry dominated by women, a man still finds himself at the helm.
Yeah, the patriarchy at its best again. And I believe if... I could be very much wrong here, but I believe if a woman was heading that institution or that organization, I think she would not have made such a statement. Because the statement he is making is that he believes that they should reach a point of prioritizing vaccinated patients when it comes to ICU beds.
Right. Okay. So you're asking me how I think about that?
Yeah, so let me hear with your...
All right. At first when I heard it, I find it take long for us to reach here. And I thought we would have gotten to this point.
When is it? Oh, so you mean on the podcast or the country?
No, the country.
Okay.
I thought discussions like this come, and well, to be fair, maybe people, public officers or public figures have been making statements like this already, but it's the first time it's come to my knowledge, right? I was expecting this to happen a lot earlier, for him to start saying to treat unvaccinated people differently at the hospitals, right? And when I first heard it, I was like, it frustrated me. Although I expected it, but it frustrated me because I think there is so much unreasonableness involved in how they come into these conclusions that I was like, how intelligent people, how he's reached here.
Right.
But then I thought about it and I spoke to a friend of mine who's actually a healthcare provider in the UK. And she was expressing that the frustration that many of her colleagues feel as well, dealing with COVID patients, unvaccinated COVID patients, is reaching to a tipping point. Because in her mind, and in their minds as well, the numbers would, because at least what she is telling me in terms of her personal experience is different from what the NHS is reporting in terms of the overall figures. But she can only speak for where she works. And where she works in a COVID ward. And the vast majority of people that they treat on a daily basis are unvaccinated, right? The people taking up the beds and the ICUs. The few people that you find that are fully vaccinated are also often immunocompromised otherwise, right? So the nurses have to prepare themselves in a very different way to deal with COVID patients. It's the suit that they need to wear is very uncomfortable. It's very hot. It's very stressful. And when the ward begins to fill up, the work gets unending for them.
Right.
And in their minds, they are doing this to deal with people who could have prevented this by taking a vaccine.
Right.
So they feel frustrated. So he may be expressing a sentiment that is going around amongst his colleagues. He's not just making that statement in a vacuum then.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So I could feel a little sympathy for him from that perspective, because it may be that the nurses are saying to themselves, listen, a lot of these people that we have to deal with could have prevented themselves getting to this point if they had taken the vaccine, and they feel a particular degree of frustration, and they're expressing it
to him. All right. I no, listen, I understand that. I remember when I was doing rideshare, I picked up a girl, and she's a doctor, and she says she works with COVID patients and whatnot. And, she was almost to tears. The girl was real sweet, though. Whoa, the most platonic sweet, right? Just saying.
All right.
Yeah.
That was a diversion, but
right?
go ahead.
Yeah. Because I think if it's a probably ugly girl, I would not feel anyway when she's saying it. But I felt it because what happened?
Wow, how we reach here?
I just saying that, boy. So I felt it, when she was explaining that, how difficult her job is because people won't get vaccinated, and she's saying, people should just go there and get vaccinated or whatever the case may be. And I felt it a bit, when she was saying it, probably because she was nice, as I say.
Okay.
If an ugly person was saying it, I'd be like, your backside now, boy. Nobody can know damn vaccine.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
So I felt it, and, I was like, wait, boy, all the pain is nice, girl, shoot that, boy. Right? But, So I understand that aspect of it, and I understand that, but I think we're trying to resort to that type of behavior, I think is
Well, you see, the reason, and this comes back to why my initial response to people saying things like that, what gets me irritated is that they're making, yes, unvaccinated and vaccinated might be playing a part in the people you're seeing, but there are other things that are playing a big part. Obese people, unhealthy people, people who could have adjusted, so you're saying you're mad at people because they could have prevented yourself from getting here by just getting vaccinated. Well, a lot of them could have prevented themselves from getting there by eating properly and exercising. Right. You understand what I'm saying? So you are focusing on only one of the factors that is playing a role in them ending up.
Well, you could fix.
Precisely. And well, also because our leaders are encouraging us to not respect each other when it comes to this particular issue, right? So you're already sowing the seeds of division. You're already giving people kind of the license to be just awful people to their fellow citizens because they made one choice or another, right? And because that is already there, you already have, as I said, the conditions necessary for people to begin behaving like that.
And seeing all kind of wild
them kind of wildness. But then on top of that, they're overlooking the other factors, because in no other context do we treat people that way. We don't say, if tomorrow, we have the wards in the hospitals had to fill up with diabetic people. What do we start to do? How we only give beds to the people who have with the type of diabetes that you're born with now.
Type 1?
Well, whichever one you're born with, right?
Yeah, type 1. Type 2 is the lifestyle diabetes.
So
that one I have.
Yeah. So we say, only type 1 diabetics really get, because all they had a chance to adjust, to prevent all themselves from getting here, but all they insisted on eating and drinking as all they wanted, or being lazy, whatever. You understand what I'm saying? We don't think like that. We just think, listen, you need attention. We're going to look after you. I think in a rational society, where if we were thinking, if we had our thinking guided by actual morality, how we would prioritize beds if beds became an issue. Well, apparently they are, would be who could be saved.
Right.
Right.
But I think that would also lead to a big debate though, because some people say, well, who are you to determine if somebody could be saved or not?
Well, yeah, but that's how we would do it in war. Right. When they have a triage that's being overrun with wounded soldiers, they'll have somebody by the front, the entrance to the triage saying, nah, leave he there. Give him Panadol, kill his pain until he dead. Right? And that one, he looked like he could be saved, carry him inside. Because the reality is, if the beds become an issue, then a choice has to be made. A choice has to be made. So what we have to determine is how are we going to make that choice, right? They want to use it based on vaccination status. I think that's unwise. I think it's immoral. I think if we have to make a choice, it should be based on the prognosis of the patient. What chance of survival does this one have as opposed to that one? So imagine you have the choice to save a 25-year-old unvaccinated COVID patient, or a 60 otherwise healthy COVID patient who's one of the few in a million who happen to have a real bad case of COVID, although they're young and healthy, but unvaccinated. You will treat a 55-year-old.
Let's go to the extreme. A 75-year-old.
Let me. Because at 75, you could have lifestyle diseases that aren't really your fault.
Right.
But let's say a 55-year-old chronically obese man who is vaccinated but 200 pounds overweight. You understand? And likely here because clearly, despite being vaccinated, he is still unable to mount a credible defense to the virus. So we're going to say, well, he's vaccinated. He did the wise thing. He didn't take care of his body in any other way. You understand? He didn't take responsibility for his health in any other way than to take a jab. So we're going to treat him and leave the 25-year-old to die. That's crazy. That's absolute nonsense.
Which leads to a very interesting conversation I was having in a group recently. But they didn't want to bite my beat, boy, because people just behaving very very girly. People might think there's and they have a problem when they say men behaving girly. They say, anyhow,
you just walking in all them booby traps today.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
But something I remember saying, and a man says, so you just want everybody to dead, or someone that's shipping a city man saying to you, or who they're dead.
Yeah.
And I so then I asked him a question. I was like, yeah, are you spiritual? Because my point was, but he didn't take that beat at all now. Because, let's say, when God ready for you, he ready for you, and he go take you how he want to take you. So at the end of the day, if you're spiritual and you believe that when God ready for you, he go take you, whether it's COVID or whether it's bongs down or whether, he go take you. So if it's COVID, he sent for you to take you. He go take you that way.
What it will say is that, but God put in all of us the will to live and the sense to know how to make wise decisions, and you have a duty to protect your life, right? And not to be reckless with the one life you've been given.
But the funny thing about it, there are many situations where people are reckless and end up nearly dying, and they live and they say, it's God that saved me. God brought me back. God, they say, he saw I had a bigger purpose. You understand? So when it comes to COVID,
but what I would say, even in response to when they say things like that, they have to be mindful. And I say, well, I get that you need to be, because you may not, you may be spiritual and believe in the afterlife and so on. That doesn't mean you should run to death, right? I get that. But the degree of fear I see some of y'all emanating from many of y'all, I just don't understand. If you are indeed spiritual, I could understand and say, listen, I'm going to do what I could do. I'm going to get vaccinated. I'm going to try to keep myself as healthy as possible. And as far as possible, I'm going to not do stupid things like, if I feel people is a large crowd, right? You know what I mean? But then you do that and you move on with your life and you just say, well, what is to is will is,
but
as Sprung used to say.
But then you start to condemn people and judge people and do everything else the Bible says not to do. You understand what I'm saying? And all kind of thing.
Because in reality, that's what they really want to do. That's what they really want to do. They want to be judgmental and point the finger and wag the finger.
So you lost God. Quick. When COVID reached, you lost God. Quick. Right? And then as looking in the group for the YOLO people too, there's only one life to live. What's going on? All of us seem to be living. They say, what? It have living and living. Or something like that.
They have existing and living.
And existing and living.
Yeah.
Well, what happened? Let's live.
And coming to when they're talking about the carnival thing, right? When DJ Envy said, well, the way you talking, carnival will never return. You had to ask yourself, really and truly, there are some people who seem like they would be okay with that, And when I say okay with that, I'm not just talking about people who themselves don't really like to fet. I don't want people who was big carnival lovers who go be like, well, if there's a disease out there, so for the rest of your life,
I kind of okay with that, not because of COVID, but I do what I mean, kind of.
But that's what I'm saying. No, I'm not talking about people like you. I'm talking about people, who love carnival,
but they're afraid of the disease.
But they're afraid of the disease.
The virus.
They seem to be content to say, well, listen, the point of life is to simply avoid death, not to live. Right? I here to avoid death. So once there's death out there, I just.
So fire for Marshall. I come out to live my life, drink a rum and
all of that.
Live my life. It done.
Listen, Naldo, you see when you watch what happened in Grenada last year and this year, brother.
In a repeat of sins last year, but if anything bigger, Grenadian masqueraders panned out around the country Monday in defiant displays, even though Carnival was officially banned and the public holiday was done away with.
Trinidadians could never tell me again that Carnival is in we blood. And that we live in this thing.
But then they will say, Grenada cases spike after they jump up.
And they did not care. if Spice Mass time roll around again next year,
They're coming out again.
they will jab again. Because that is what they said. This is we.
Yes, but I have been...
Go ahead.
I have been telling you all this, and you are one of the people who have disagreed with me. And don't get me wrong, I understand the people who disagree with me, but I've been saying that to me, Grenada is or has the best carnival. Reason being...
I didn't disagree with you. I never went, so I can't say it.
But remember we were talking about it, you're saying... it's probably because you're not from there, and because you reach there, you feel
well, I was saying that you couldn't make the judgment off of just that one experience now, but go ahead.
Maybe I had a few Grenada Carnival experiences.
Okay, right.
But the thing is, and it's not the when you reach there, something about it, it feels real, it feels authentic, it feels,
like what Oz probably used to be.
Yeah. Probably before my time as well. Right? I probably like when Poison and them was around. Poison Band and thing was around. I wasn't really playing mass then, but I knew about it. I saw it on TV or whatever. But when you reach it, the vibe of the people and the energy is be like, hey boy. You understand what I'm saying?
It don't feel cosmetic, which is
exactly.
Oz is beginning to feel.
Yeah, it don't feel fake. It don't feel like people watching you and watching what you're wearing, and you had to dress up the best. You're going in and boy, I had to go with that old sneakers or 2 old sneakers. One to get the oil from the job and one to beat up in party and run in mud. Because this isn't about looks, this is about vibes.
Yeah.
And I think Grenadans, they have proven themselves to truly be about...
the culture.
Yeah.
Because you know what is, as to them, job is essential. Is essential, is like you can't close the groceries. Because how we go eat, right?
Yeah.
We cannot job because job in we. Now, listen, you could argue whether it's reckless or thing, whatever. I don't care. And I'm not saying that I want a job. All I'm saying is, don't give me this Trinidad Carnival is in we blood and die we culture and die we the essence. No. Because the minute a virus come out, all they running all the whole. All they want no part. All they didn't or they didn't even want to say, well, let me have a little small thing, or no. Or they running on the whole.
Or they give up all their freedom. As Kes says, the freedom.
Yeah.
Or they give up the freedom. And easy.
Remember, you hear what they was chanting in the last one?
Yeah.
No vote Rocket Mitchell. Oh, no vote Rocket Mitchell. No vote Rocket Mitchell.
Them, I give Grenada all the props from now on, because them say, listen, come high, come low. Jabbing.
Hey,
that's what I'm saying?
I tell you, if it's one thing, Grenada, big up yourself, second home, love all it too bad. Yeah. But
I don't want to ever hear no cultural icon here try to tell me that, this thing is in we blood. We carnival, nothing could stop the carnival. Well, stop it. Well, it could be 2 years.
Yeah.
They go stop it again next year. And listen, they stopped Spice Mass, let's be real.
Yeah,
it's like they had Spice Mass.
But the jabs came out.
The jabs came out.
Yeah, and they came out with the bottle and spoon, the iron, and they create their own music.
Their own vibes. They sing.
Yeah, they sing.
And the thing is, they had no whining and, well, I think they might have had a little bit, but from the videos I saw, I didn't see no sort of whining and jamming, But it's just, what the jab's supposed to represent, what the Juve is supposed to represent.
The Juve that all they wanted to kill Michael B. Jordan for.
Yeah. You understand?
What that was supposed to be, them come out and show how it...
Because they come and show, this is about, this thing has this is not just we coming out to wine and to pay people some money to jump up in a barn and wine and jam and whatever. No. There is a spiritual aspect to this thing. It's a release. It is really part of it's a ritual that means more than just a money making thing or a whining thing or a jamming thing. As I say, it's a spiritual thing, and they come and show you that.
Yeah, and okay, so let's look at the slavery thing, right? In terms of they're saying, this is Juve and whatnot is celebrating the abolishment of slavery.
Well, not necessarily, but it's not necessarily. It is how they phrase it, boy. But it's not a celebration of the flesh, but it is before Lent is coming, and you have to know you are giving up giving in to all of the sins of the flesh in a way.
You see, no, you think is, remember, that is one-sided because somebody has go tell you something
right,
else.
yeah, that whole kind of different. Right,
that whole different kind of thing.
Right,
But
right,
this is why I didn't get vexed with Michael B. Jordan and them because that's some damn different thing that...
Right. Or so many things that supposedly the essence of Juve.
Right.
Right.
So,
and Carnival in general. Right.
So let us just look at it from the angle that they talk about. This is how the slaves used to come out and they say they used to mock the
slave masters.
The slave masters and whatever, right? So this is how slaves used to, this was their form of revelry and celebration. To think about your country being locked down, and this is the time when they're supposed to show that that
is exactly what they were saying to the police in Grenada is exactly the sentiment Juve is supposed to express. You can't stop me.
Mm-hmm.
That is what it's supposed to. It's supposed to be us, the proletariat, the grassroots coming out and telling the elites, hey, hold up, this we day.
Right. And Grenada did it. What she needs to do? Post memes.
You understand what I'm saying? And again, me ain't telling nobody, me ain't vex with you, me ain't telling you, you should have come out and had Juve. But all I'm saying is, don't give me that bullshit again. But we is the essence of nothing, and that in we blood, and we culture. No. You just like to party because it's fun.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? That is it.
Grenadians, heal. Let me touch as we talk more party and fete hunting. The situation with Travis Scott and his
you can I don't even know what more to say about that. Yes,
well, here's my thing about it. And I have no choice but to kind of defend Travis Scott in this situation. Obviously, a lot of people put out their videos from their perspectives, from the crowd who, when they reach home, they did their video, whatever the case may be. And, they're saying it had like the mosh pits and whatnot. And apparently they say he called people to the front and people get trampled or whatever the case may be. The end result, people died. I think 11 people so far. Some people were...
I was thinking it was 8, but I guess more.
Right, yeah. Right? People were in serious condition, but right? And people are saying that, even though it had people in the crowd telling him to stop the party, that he still continued. And people try to say that, he was sacrificing.
It just felt like we was like literally like in fucking hell, bro. Like it felt like we was in a concert in hell. You couldn't breathe. You couldn't see. Like just imagine all the people they're going to find tonight who was in that crowd, who nobody could see, who nobody could hear, who passed out, and everybody was just trampling on top of them the whole fucking concert. Like, in the VIP section, it was so many bodies laid out. People was getting pulled out who was fainted. And the medics were trying to give them CPR. And they was flipping them over. And like, they was literally turning black and blue. Like, I never seen death in my fucking life, bro. Just by me alone, it was probably like 10 fucking people laid out dead. And like, once the medics tried to help them, they wasn't responding. They moved to the next person. It was nothing they could do. Like this shit really fucked me up and like really spooked me tonight. Like that was like some demonic shit. Like, and what was so crazy, like people were screaming help, trying to tell Travis Scott. They was like help. The whole crowd was just going like help. And he just kept going, bro. And mind you, y'all see the type of music I make. Y'all see everything. Like, like I've been so heavily influenced by Travis, but like after tonight, bro, like God really showed me like, like stay away from that shit, bro. Like that shit not for you. Cause like, he sacrificed so many people's lives tonight, like for real. Like so many people's lives are gone tonight because they want to go to a fucking Travis Scott concert and have fun. He influenced people to be raging and all this shit. So many people broke in and it was just chaos, bro. It was a living fucking hell.
Obviously,
bro.
Who's saying that? Like sensible people or
people
on
social media, and obviously, different people will pick up these clips, and these clips will play so much that people will start to buy into it. It goes right. There's a clip of that guy. I'll probably insert it somewhere there. Where he was talking about his experience. Like he has never seen anything like this. Now, I think there are plenty of different angles in this. One, people passing out in those shows that's a normal thing. It's a regular thing. I mean, whether it be from dehydration, whether it be from overdosing, people just pass out in these shows. So seeing people being hauled out is nothing really new, right? That's one. Two, saying stop the show or stop. A little batch of all I hear saying stop. The thing is on a stage, I've been on big stages. I've been on big stages in front of 10,000 people, probably more, right? I've been on Soca Monarch stage. And what I can tell you is, the stage monitors. Some people don't know who this be in the crowd, right? The band this be practicing with the stage monitors on the stage. And you in front of the stage can't hear the band practicing, you know? If you understand what I mean. Just the stage monitors playing loud enough for the band to be practicing and testing their stuff. And the people in the party can't hear. That's how loud the stage monitors are. So plenty time, that's why they would cut the music to hear you sing. Because if they would cut the music, most of them, we won't hear you all singing, you know? The stage monitors are so loud most of the times. So I think, I mean, could they have done things a bit different?
But there's no Travis Scott walk.
It's you, right?
There's Travis. If the concert has to be stopped, Travis Scott can't listen to a man in the crowd to stop the show. If somebody from the emergency services makes their way to the stage, the event coordinator, the event manager, it's their work to come on the stage and tell Travis Scott, hey,
hold up.
Don't do this. There's not his work.
And the next thing
is, he cannot take advice from 2 people in the crowd. Was that or 10 people? It doesn't. And from what I understand, there were points in time when he could see that people were trying to evacuate people, and he would stop and tell them to let the person pass.
Somebody help him. Somebody passed out right here. He passed out. God. Somebody passed out right here. Hold on! Don't touch him! Don't touch him! Maybe somebody help jump in real quick.
But he can't. He not going to stop the show. The promoter or whoever is in charge of the event will come and tell him, hey, now what's going on down there is serious. It's not a fight breakout, and no, it's not something that could continue, that could allow the show to continue. So it's not he walked to do that. And anybody with sense would know that. So I don't understand why anybody would blame Travis Scott for what took place.
But the thing is, do you think that people in the US like to make villains out of these people, out of these artists?
I think that what happens is that, again, social media encourages behavior like this, right? Where, okay, it might be the opinion of a few people who ain't thinking, who dotish, who can put 3 and 3 together or 1 and 1 together, that, you know, hey, we can't tell he stop the show and he stop the show. Yeah, accountable. Like, can't do that. You know, so they have the opinion that it's his fault, and they go on social media and they express that, and people who then don't like Travis Scott or who just like to buy into the narrative that celebrity is okay or whatever.
And then you want to seem like you're virtuous.
Right, exactly. So you pile on and you pile on and you pile on, and these things get legs because social media exists. You know what I mean? Look at what happened here with Marshall Alternative however many years ago. Yeah. I don't think a single person blamed Marshall because it's not his fault. He didn't build the stands that people that fall down. You understand what I'm saying? It's not his work. So he's an artist performing.
No, but if it was if that happened in social media era,
of course it would have been a completely different thing.
Yeah,
because because in a crowd of I think it was 50,000 people who at that show, right? In a crowd that size, you're gonna find some dummy who don't understand how these things is run and feel, hey, he fault, but he caused this problem. And as I say, just like they might have had somebody in the Marshall show who would have thought, hey, man, the Marshall should have do something, man. You see the crowd thing and he can't do nothing. But they might have that opinion, but they would have expressed it and nobody would have agreed with them and it just gone on with their life. But now they could express that opinion on social media and the pylon comes and now it becomes now we shouldn't be having any discussion about what role Travis Scott had to play in this. We should be talking about the event promoters and the inadequate security and all these other things.
And anyway, when you're doing events like that, you have liability insurance. You have public liability insurance.
Yeah.
So,
and why did nobody from no safety or fire or police official make their way to the stage and tell them to stop long before they did? You understand what I'm saying? Like, why did nobody say, hey, from the time the amount of people break down the fence or whatever and got inside, hey, this is too dangerous.
Lock it off.
You can't perform. Don't bring Drake. Don't bring nobody. No, that they are the people to be blamed, not the performer. Shit, you're telling me.
The thing is, they say it's his show. I think, but it's not really his show because most people wouldn't know that either.
Exactly. He's the headliner and he might even be a major investor in it. But he's not managing the show. He's not the event manager. So
Travis Scott he's with a label, right?
I would assume so, yeah.
Right? Someone on like label is who would have organized all that. I don't think he was, tooting any any barricades or
equipment, and he was negotiating with the health and safety people to have a certain amount of security. No, he has no part to play now. He just coming to perform. Even if it is his show in terms of he is the major investor and he might be getting the major and he's technically the promoter. He's not, he cannot manage the event while he's on the stage.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, for local people, it comes like Marshall Monday. You think Marshall Monday is wrong to see how much tickets Kashi sell, or whoever sell.
Well, Marshall Montana himself. You think he and the band HD and them guys they concerning themselves for that?
Nah, right?
Exactly. And if he's on the stage, even if you might say, okay, well, ultimately Travis Scott might be liable legally in terms of if he is the promoter and they didn't
have proper things
in place. Okay, well, he might be held, but you can't say him on stage. It is his responsibility now to manage the event while he's performing and know when to stop, and can't do that. Stupid.
But we were talking about social media and how these things grow legs. And as we talk about rap, right? I don't know if you saw this week, I forget the person's name, but not I want to remember the name anyway, take it. But one of the head people in the LGBT whatever community said that the baby has now gotten clearance that he could go ahead and perform in Rolling Loud and whatever concerts coming up. He now has the okay to go ahead and perform. But however, Dave Chappelle is not cleared as yet. Dave Chappelle hasn't gotten his passport stamped, or he hasn't gotten his visa, his performance visa.
Now you send this to me, and I saw it rumbling. I saw, not just you, I saw it not just when you sent it to me, I saw it on YouTube and whatever. But you know how much I resent these things. So I'll be honest, I didn't investigate further to even find out who this person is. And if they have any clout at all. Now, I know they probably have no clout and can't stop anybody from performing anyway, right? But I don't know if maybe he might be the organization he's the head of or a big part of might have like some sway. They've canceled concerts before. Is that the case?
Well, I didn't dig that much. I just say who the person was, and apparently the person is some sort of head. So it's not just a random person.
Right.
So it's a person who has some sort of clout in that community or that organization. What it is they have, I don't know. It's an organization, a community. Anyhow.
Right. No, but they will have organizations within the community, right?
Okay,
and I would assume that there are some organizations that have in the past been able to pressure venues or sponsors or whomever to cancel performances or put people out of business in some way, shape, or form. Maybe they've organized Twitter mobs that have gotten large enough and vociferous enough to get people banned from certain venues. Maybe. So that is what he might mean when he says, we give the baby the power. In other words, if I'm the head of the organization, I could tell the organization, nah.
Calm down.
Don't attack his shows.
No, but they didn't make it sound like that. They made it sound like they are the ones who are going to tell the promoters,
right?
Yes, you could put back the baby on your cast,
right,
and we won't act up or whatever, but you could put back the baby on your cast.
Yeah.
So is it that there's a LBGT embassy out here that you need to go and get a visa, or when you follow to them? You just start off with a visa.
Right.
And when you follow to them, they revoke your visa. And then you have to wait until
you have to reapply and you'll have to review your application and decide whether you're worthy of. Yeah, it may be. No, as I say, it might sound laughable at first, but as I explained, there are organizations that have enough clout to pressure people, or maybe they've done it in the past. So he could be saying that, hey, we ain't go release the dogs on them if they try to put the baby, but we ain't co-signing Dave Chappelle. I don't know if he knows that Dave Chappelle doesn't give a fuck about what they could do. I mean, he did express that he getting some pressure with the film he was hoping to have released.
And I honestly think all that is marketing, to be real honest with you. But I think that is marketing.
No, but
I'm not saying he's not getting any pressure, you know.
But I heard one at least one film festival did put out a release saying
I'm not saying he's not getting any pressure, you know. But I think this just opened a whole different door. Because he's so huge now that so all I want to little ship at film festivals, trying to jump in my thing. All right, cute.
Well, yeah, but I mean, to some extent, it's not like if it won't hurt him, it can hurt him. It would mean that he would have to he wouldn't be able to organize the same distribution deals he would organize before, get people to front the money to distribute the movie, as he might have to come out of pocket for that, and that might end up being more profitable.
Exactly,
or it
him.
may not, or it may not. Or if he had the distributors, there was little to no risk to him. You know what I mean? Now, if he has to come out of pocket, it may not be as successful. So he's taking a chance, and those people can still mess with your money. But I think he's reached the stage where, listen, I don't need for these things to make millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars. I don't need for them to do that. I could own a venue myself, a comedy venue, and I could be booked every night in my own venue and have sold out shows every night because I am that big. People will come from anywhere. You know what I mean? So I'd have to go and hope I can't perform at MSG because the owner of MSG get pressured by some LGBT group, whatever. Nah, fuck that. I could own my own venue and perform.
I think even if he did get some pressure, I think it's a blessing in disguise. I think he now has the opportunity to make better of the situation, in my opinion.
I don't think that he could make more money doing this easily, but I think what he will lose in money, he will gain in freedom and peace of mind. And that when you're already rich, that could feel a lot more valuable than more money. Because I mean, let's be real. If he toes the line, he could toe the line and make a lot more money. A lot more money. There's no questioning about it. He could toe the line and make a lot more money.
You feel so, right?
Yes.
I think.
Yes.
I think he is developing a bigger fan base. I think there were a lot of if you want to call them the silent majority, there were a lot of people who were not happy with what was happening with the LGBT community and the cancellations and whatnot. And I think a lot of people now who may not have really taken on Dave Chappelle before, Dave Chappelle, whatever, but I think now he's gaining some extra support from people who like, yeah, you stand up against them, yes, you fight them. And
yeah, but that doesn't translate to where you could have been getting, because I mean, for instance, he's not going to get any. I'm not saying he wanted to act. I'm not saying he wanted to appear in movies. He's appeared in movies before. With his return and with how popular his specials are on Netflix, I'm certain would be getting lots of offers to appear in films. And he could appear in he could do a voiceover in a film. Sit down in an air-conditioned booth and talk for maybe 2 hours in some cartoon or something. And make millions.
I make a couple of millions.
You understand what I'm saying? Those kinds of opportunities. And no, I'm not saying he wanted them. I'm saying that those things would definitely be coming his way. Would have been coming his way. And no, they're not. And no, they're not. And yes, he might gain more fans here, and he might have. But he was always going to have sold out shows. He was always going to have, even if he did that last special and did nothing about trans people and just did a funny special, he would have been considered one of the GOATs of comedy. And he would never have a show where it ain't sold out. I mean, never, but you know what I mean? So he was always going to have sold out shows. What he would miss out on is the other opportunities that would come with that. And those things would have been, and that's what I'm saying is I don't think he's going to suffer.
Right. Yeah.
But what he's going to gain in terms of the peace of mind, because he knows I am in control of what I do and what I say, and you can't bully me, and that is very, very, very valuable to him. And he's already rich. So, you know what I mean? At some stage, like, I don't really want more millions. If I have to feel like I'm selling my soul for it, fuck that.
So then we should probably stop talking about them because we rich.
Well,
Aye.
I never intended to sing for my supper anyway. So,
Okay.
you know what I mean?
I'm not going to tell you, Rasta man. Before we shut it down, we talking about money and people throwing away money. And this NFL player who recently got into the car accident, I'm trying to remember his name now.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Good. Ow. Let me get a name. Let me get a name for you. Something Hughes? Something. He recently got into and he killed a young lady in this car accident.
Oh, no, boy. Unaware what you're talking about.
Serious?
Yeah, boy.
Right. So he's right. Henry Ruggs, the third.
Oh, that's what you were trying
right,
to
some shit. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. For those who wondering, we try to bounce off of each other, bounce ideas off of each other in terms of topics before the podcast. And he said something to me, and one of the it said hugs. Now.
Yeah.
And I was like, hugs? What is that you talking about? But I just it's a typo. But I don't understand what you're trying to refer to. Well, because I didn't understand, I didn't get to research it. So I don't know where it is.
So Henry Ruggs, right? Henry Ruggs is third charged with a DUI and also fatal traffic accident. This week here, he was driving his sports car, and at 100, and the police apparently they captured him at some point doing 156 miles per hour.
Right.
They say when the accident happened, he was doing
Which
about
is ridiculously fast.
yes,
For those who don't
in
know.
kilometers per hour. To break it down but to convert it for people in Trinidad and Tobago, that's about 240 kilometers per hour. Most of your cars don't have that figure on the dashboard.
If it have it don't go that far. The needle it might have it on the dash, but the needle don't go that far.
Right? And they say when the accident happened, he was doing about 130 something miles. Just about 200 kilometers per hour. And it so happened that the person whose car he hit, car caught on fire, and the person died. The person and the pet, the dog, because they're making sure to see the person pet as well in every news article. I don't know if he could get charged for 2 murders in the situation. I don't know.
You know, Americans are generally white people and the dogs and the pets. Sorry,
right? He was fired from his team, and
I would hope so. I would hope so.
I mean, we have seen some other bad things happening. I mean, probably not vehicular manslaughter.
No, well, our coach just got fired from an NFL team because they dug up some emails and he said some things that people consider racist years ago. So if he could lose his job because he said some questionable things, not even like outrightly racist things, but some questionable things many years ago, I would think a man who killed somebody would lose his work.
Well, accidentally, we would say.
Yeah, I mean, like that, yes, driving at 100 and something miles per hour. Yeah, I would hope the first thing he would at least do is lose his work.
No, the thing is, you tend to see a lot of these things happening with NFL players. I just want to get your perspective on that. Is it that we will continue seeing these things happening because they are young, coming across a lot of money, most of them unable to control themselves because they haven't reached a level of maturity as yet?
You mean what, if I think it's something specific to the NFL?
I mean, I think you get in basketball, you get in soccer sometimes.
Basketball not as
bad.
Not as often. Now, what people would say with the NFL is that it's question head injuries. If head injuries plays a part in it.
Okay.
The amount of domestic violence situations that tend to happen with NFL players. But some people might say it might be the head injuries, it might be the fact that it's just a more physical sport. So the people who play the sport tend to be more aggressive and more, I guess, less prone to being measured in their behavior. You understand? So I don't think it necessarily has to do with the money. Because basketball, you could use basketball. Basketball presents itself as a almost the perfect comparison because the demographic is largely the same in terms of the people who play the sport. Basketball, NFL, American football tends to be urban youth. Is unlike something like tennis.
Right.
Or even to some extent baseball now, because baseball, the demographic is either the Latino or the white. You're hardly seeing, blacks involved in that sport anymore. At least from when I look at it. So you could say the NFL and the NBA is generally the same demographic in terms of where the athletes tend to come from, their race, their background, so on. But it doesn't happen as often in the NFL and in the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
You don't tend to hear about, Paul Pierce got stabbed in a nightclub some years ago, but Gilbert Arenas had some other issues with guns in the locker room. But you generally don't tend to hear about NBA players, and they have just as much money, in fact more, because NBA contracts tend to be more lucrative than NFL contracts on average. Right?
Okay. But honestly, the NFL do have more money overall, or do pay more players plenty money compared to the NBA?
I don't know all the stats, but remember on an NFL team, it's a lot of players.
Mm-hmm.
They have two teams essentially. There's a defense and an offense, and you have to have multiple players for each one of those, each one of those positions. NBA team is, 9 men just come on 11 men just come on the bench, and you have players who's moved between the development league and the actual starters. So there's, and 5 starters essentially, and normally just 3 superstars. So I guess there's just less people for the money to be spread across. So NBA contracts tend to be the average, if I'm not mistaken, somebody could, fact check me here, but if I had to bet, I would say that the average NBA contract is more lucrative than the average NFL contract. So like if you are the average player, you're not a superstar in the NBA, you're more likely to have a more lucrative contract than an average NFL player.
Okay.
And also NFL players tend to have much shorter careers because of the physical nature of the sport, right? So a lot of NFL players outwardly say that they wish they had NBA contracts, and also because they get guaranteed payments. So if they get injured, it's much easier for them to get paid as opposed to in the NFL. When you have an NFL player who has a guaranteed contract, who gets paid, whether he's sick or not, then he's very rare. It's very rare that happens. So all this to say that the demographic of individuals are the same, but you don't see the same thing happening with the NBA. So I think you have to look at the nature of the sport. In the case of the NFL, the type of people that would tend to succeed in that sport would be, I guess, more of the stereotypical meathead, So you kind of have to be crazy to play that sport when you think about it. When you think of the fact that you can be hit by a 300-pound human being running at full speed, because these guys who weigh between 270 and 330, they move faster than me when I was fast. Well, not when I was fast, but when I was at my fastest. You know what I mean? They would be moving faster than me. And they are huge human beings, right? And you get hit by that, or you risk getting hit by a person like that. And you do get hit by people like that almost every game. You have to be kind of nutty to get involved in that sport. So you give those kinds of people money to play with, and I guess you're going to see, because boxing tends to have the same issues going on, UFC fighting,
right,
mixed martial arts.
But I guess they probably aren't as popular. I mean, UFC popularity is building now, and they would just have 1 or 2 popular UFC fighters.
No, but I mean, it's the reports about issues happening with those. That's a regular thing. Even criminal activity, especially with the UFC, you hear about them getting involved in. I can't remember his name now, but there was one who I heard was involved in drugs, like drug dealing.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it happens a lot, but I guess it wouldn't reach the radar of people who don't pay attention to sports at all. So that's, I think, why.
Connor cuffed down the man in the old man in the pub.
Yeah, and then try to attack Machine Gun Kelly and all these kind of things. So yeah, that's the kind of thing you would get when people involved in a much more aggressive sport, a sport where you kind of had to be nuts to do it in the first place.
As you talk about nuts and money, right? People who kind of crazy and money. Elon Musk.
Right.
And the UN.
Right.
Here now. I nearly died when I saw that.
We all over the place this episode. I like that.
Right?
I like that. Where else you could hear people talk about Trinidad Carnival and Elon Musk? Where? Come on, man.
No, I mean, yeah. I mean, different perspective. We're touching on as much.
No, but I just saying, these people that have large followings that people listen to all the time, can they run that gambit though?
Right.
Can they?
Most of them
really.
can't. Yeah.
Not really. Yes.
So yeah, boy. So the UN says 6 billion should be able to.
Well, that's the first thing. That was not exactly true.
Well, all right. You're talking about the head of the UN. I came out after and say that.
Well, the head of the UN food program, the UNFP, right? What Elon Musk responded to was a news article that misstated what the guy from the UNFP said, which was that the guy from the UNFP was saying that we need $6 billion, about $6 billion will help to feed 42 million people in 2021 or 22. I'm not too sure. He said this year. I don't know if he mean by the end of 2021 or into the next year, the calendar year. But 42 million people were on the brink of starvation, and $6 billion would keep them alive, essentially. And he was pleading with people like Elon Musk. I think he called out Elon Musk specifically, because I think on that day, Elon Musk's Tesla stock had gone up exponentially because of they signed the deal with Hertz to provide Hertz with some vehicles. So I think his wealth went up by like 69 billion or some shit like that in one day. So he was saying, hey, just 6 billion of that could feed these 42 billion people and keep them alive. And some reporter somewhere, I think it's CNN online.
Try and tie it up.
Right.
Now,
and Elon Musk responded to that.
Right. Now, the thing is, I'm sure you would have heard those kind of things being said before.
Of course, yes. Which is why Elon Musk responded the way he responded.
Right.
Because he knows that people like the guy in charge of the UNFP always seem to think that if we just take all the money from the billionaires, everything will be great.
Right. Because you have heard it on many occasions.
Right, precisely, yes. And so I think that's why when he saw the CNN article, he was like, another, okay, no problem, we go solve world hunger. He immediately thought that is probably what the guy from the UNFP said.
What the regular rhetoric was.
What exactly?
So he responded, not necessarily going into detail of what the guy said.
What the guy said,
but what the rhetoric usually is.
Exactly. If we just take money from all these rich people, then world hunger would be solved. And he was, like Elon Musk does, he's just like, okay, well, show me you're working. Show me you're working. Don't just give me the answer. Show me you're working. I want to see you working. Show me
the breakdown.
Yeah.
And if I can prove it, you see, I will sell my Tesla stock and I go handle it.
I go get you 6 billion. And the thing is, right? So people who just who have these simple minds and think that, it really is that easy. You think Elon Musk, forget Jeff Bezos or Bill Gates or whatever, right? You think Elon Musk could know that for $6 billion, he could cure world hunger and he would really sit down on that money and say, nah, boy. Nah.
Let them starve. Especially Elon. Now, I don't know how you feel about Elon. I think he's like an international guy with it. He loves that media play now, boy.
Okay.
And I think, if he could do something like that, and it is positive for him, and plus get the media playing it, I think he'll do it.
Why would Elon Musk not? Why would anybody not do that? Why would anybody not? If you could go down as the man that solved world hunger, even if it cost 50 billion, you think Jeff Bezos wouldn't do it? Why wouldn't he do it? You think he because you have in your mind some mystical idea of a Mr. Scrooge who's like to jump in a vault full of money and swim? No, first of all, we don't even understand what we mean when we say these people are worth this amount, right? Because if Elon Musk decides to start to liquidate his Tesla stock,
The price of it will
the
drop.
price of it will drop immediately.
Yeah.
So you think he could just sell off that and be worth and cash in on this 100 and whatever billion they say he worth now? No. From the time he starts to liquidate that stock, people will be like, wait, what are you selling for? The price will drop immediately. So right off the bat, he won't be worth what you say he's worth, right? But this idea that billionaires, could do that. Now, you could rightfully say that what the guy from the UNFP came back and said is, listen, I want to see, I think he contacted, Elon Musk directly or
and
via Twitter. Whatever.
Yeah, and he say, hey, let's meet.
Right. And he still wanted $6 billion to feed the 42 million people. And what somebody was saying, I was hearing somebody commenting on it. I can't remember who just was making this point that Elon Musk shouldn't fall into the trap of them saying, okay, no, I ain't telling to solve world hunger. I just saying these 42 million people are starving, give me $6 billion, I'll feed them. Because when Elon Musk does that and said, okay, here's $6 billion, what are you going to do? Not come back next year? And say, well, we have 42. Because 42 million people, you just feed them for however long, they could be starving again next year.
Yeah, it's big, and I think a big part of the problem that nobody want to discuss is that is in most situations is poor governance in those countries.
Conflict.
Right, conflict and these kind of things. So even if you feed them now, or even if you give them however money you want to give them, it will have corruption, it will have all different kind of things that will take place. Even trying to feed them. I think people might lose their lives trying to go to feed them,
But because a lot of these people live in conflict zones. It's not just people who live in slums who just don't have education or access to jobs. I'm not saying that those people don't exist, but a lot of the people who are on the brink of starvation now, the reason why they're in those areas is because, in Madagascar, there's a famine situation going on there, right? And those ads that the UNFP have been running that I've seen on social media, it does make my heart sink. I'm telling you, when people's lives are basically reduced to just searching for food to eat on a daily basis and they're eating tree bark and you understand what I'm saying? It does make your heart sink when you hear about it. And Madagascar is a specific situation and that could probably be cured, or at least not permanently, but it could be addressed by just pure donations. But when you're talking about people in the DRC and in all these other conflict areas in South Sudan, and you need to navigate the conflict in the first place and deal with warlords and some of these people being trapped in famine-struck areas because the people are making efforts to starve them there. You can't just go and just drop food from the sky. And, you know what I mean? But this, you can't tell people that because they love this narrative of, problems, people love to get generous with other people's money, right? When there's other people's money to spend, they should just give them. Okay, but how about you? You could give too. You eat pretty well. You ain't missing no meals. Why you know what I mean? Why can't you help? You pass people every day on the street in front of you. You could give a help out too, but you don't do that. So unfortunately, and Elon Musk, who's heard that rhetoric over and over and over, he just shoot from the hip when he see that.
Listen, man's a wild boy. He's a wild boy. I'm telling you, really, really wild.
I don't know if you remember, there was a point in time when somebody had tweeted at him, and I'll butcher this here, but I think I'll get the general sentiment. They tweeted at him that during the pandemic, Tesla stock or his wealth had gone up by X amount. And the average Tesla employee's salary didn't go up, some kind of shit like that. Yeah. And they say you sir are the modern robber baron now, which is a reference to feudal times when people just used to essentially enslave people and profit off of their work, right? So he called him a modern day robber baron, and then Elon Musk responded by saying, listen, Tesla employees get paid in Tesla stock. So when Tesla stock rises, their wealth rises. So you, sir, are a modern day moron. Elon just went at the man immediately because, again, he knows these idiots out here. Now, listen, I'm not saying to love billionaires, and I'm not saying that some of them, and I mean, people of all the major billionaires, Elon Musk is the most loved. And I guess it's because the things he makes his money off of are things that we feel are good for people. So electric cars could help him to slow down.
And that's the only kind of real thing making money off of, really.
No, SpaceX is a pretty profitable company.
No, because of recently.
And the stock price is pretty healthy.
Yeah.
Neuralink is another. I remember he was one of the major people that profited off of PayPal and so on.
Yeah.
And Neuralink and this other thing he's doing, the internet project that he has going on to try to make internet.
The global internet.
Right. So all of these things are, in other words, he's not Jeff Bezos who just have a big market, who just open a big retail.
But of course, people think that Jeff Bezos and them in charge of a monopoly and monopolizing and squeezing people out.
But even people who don't think that far, the point is they didn't make money off of something that's saving the world.
Right.
Right? You know, Elon Musk wants to colonize Mars so that if things go south here, we could go there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this Neuralink thing, he claims he wants to, cure neurological diseases. You saw the video with the monkey playing ping pong?
No way.
Oh my God. That when we're done here, you could Google it or YouTube it. Neuralink is the company he has where they're working on basically forming a symbiosis between machine and man.
Right.
And so he's implanting this chip into your brain that has these tiny electrical fibers, I guess, that connect with the neural pathways in your brain. And he says it's for the purpose of curing things like dementia and so on, right? And like repairing parts whenever if a part of your brain doesn't work and it's causing you to experience paralysis or whatever, right? No, if that's always going to be useful, who knows? But the point is, that's what it does.
You're updating it every day like a Tesla.
So I just saying that's it, right? No, they've been doing some tests on a monkey. I can't remember the monkey's name. And they released a video. This was a little while now, might have been 6-7 months ago, showing the monkey playing ping pong with his brain. Right? So at first, the monkey learns to play ping pong like a table tennis game, right? Atari.
Right.
Play it with a joystick, right? And I think they're feeding him something through a tube to get him to play the game, right? When he scores lots of points, they give him whatever drink he in whatever. And then while they're doing that, the machine is learning his responses, right? Like what his brain is saying to his hand when it moves left or right. And then they show him the monkey controlling, well, at least they say he's controlling the ping pong without touching the joystick. So the monkey's playing ping pong with his brain.
Right.
I don't know.
So they're saying the chip is wirelessly probably connected to the
chip is because it is connected to the machine.
Right. Yeah.
He no longer has to move the joystick.
Right. Yeah. So it connected probably more than wirelessly.
Right. Yeah. Well, yes, wirelessly, not more than it is wirelessly connected to the game, and it's reading his brain waves. His brain waves to make the moves on the screen. I don't know about you, buddy, but that is frightening as fuck to me.
This is Pager. He's a 9-year-old macaque who had a Neuralink placed in each side of his brain about 6 weeks ago. If you look carefully, you can see that the fur on his head hasn't quite fully grown back yet. As he's playing this game, we're wirelessly streaming, in real time, the firing rates from thousands of neurons to a computer. Using these data, we calibrate the decoder by mathematically modeling the relationship between patterns of neural activity and the different joystick movements they produce. Pager still moves the joystick out of habit, but as you can see, it's unplugged. He's controlling the cursor entirely with decoded neural activity. One of the things the Neuralinks allow Pager to do is to play his favorite video game, Pong. To control his paddle, on the right side of the screen, Pager simply thinks about moving his hand up or down. We've removed the joystick altogether. Now that he's up to speed, Let's increase the difficulty and see how well Pager can play with the Neuralink.
I think that's frightening. But again, people think that these things are. He seems like a real life Iron Man. The technology is driving humanity forward, as opposed to a man who just, like Bill Gates, who just made Microsoft and supposedly, has his foundation to make vaccines or whatever. Jeff Bezos, who just has a big market, or this next guy who's a fashion mogul who own all those fashion brands. He seems, what he does seems more interesting. So I think that's why science nerds love him and environmentalists love him, because they think the things he's doing is actually good for the environment. So people love him more than most other billionaires.
All right. I had two points I want to spin off of about watching the time.
Go ahead.
One, as we're talking about those, I was watching something with Russell Brand, and he was playing an interview with the guy who used to do the Tonight Show a long time before.
Not the Tonight Show, I mean Jon Stewart, I mean?
The Daily Show.
Yeah.
The Daily Show.
Jon Stewart,
the Daily Show. Where he's interviewing a woman and talking about how taxpayers' money needs to help people who comes to the government for social welfare, I guess you want to call it. And these people are fully employed. These people are employed in places like McDonald's.
Right, they still need welfare to live.
Yeah, they still need welfare, right? And what they're saying is that the government giving these people so much bly, or whatever the case may be, right? All these big corporations. But yet still the government kind of helping them out because they're not paying people a livable wage.
No.
Do you understand what I'm saying? And that was real interesting and mind-blowing to me now with that.
Oh, yeah.
These people...
Which you see, but that's the thing that people don't seem to understand. People hate corporations, right? They hate business. They think business, you can't trust them. Just put profits over people and blah, 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 blah. What do you think the government is? Who you think funds the government? When you think that when you put things in the state, oh no, the state, that is a benevolent entity. They care only for people. And no, the state is like the biggest corporation in your country.
Well, at the end of the day, because that's what they have to make money one way or the other, and then they have expenses. So
right, exactly, and they're not filled with angels. They're filled with human beings who are easily corrupted and have their own will serve their own self-interest and so on. So when you have a lot of power accrue to them, the corruption just multiply, because they have a monopoly on the use of force in the country, the legitimate use of force. They're the only ones that could lock you up, the only ones who could shoot you legally, you understand? So when you give all the power to them and think, oh well, that's going to solve the problem. Yeah, they are now going to distribute it, in the most fair and equitable manner possible. No, they're not, because they are tightly related and linked with these corporations. So you think that the policies they put forward are going to harm those individuals, harm the business interests that help to prop them up? No. So if I don't know what Jon Stewart was referring to, but if it's a question of policies that were like during COVID, during the pandemic, where they were giving all these loans and like debt forgiveness and all these things to these major corporations, and then those major corporations not turning around now and giving it in terms of salaries to workers. Duh.
And like, so he went on to show like what he figured was that the government pays out every year to, I believe, right? I might have it wrong, but one of the big corporations, I believe it was Walmart. And then he showed what Walmart's investment was in terms of campaign financing or government financing kind of thing. And it was like way big. And it's like,
of course.
It's like, wow.
Of course. And the thing is, those same corporations that pay, the way they get so large in the first place, just like in Trinidad and Tobago, is through government contracts. That's how they get to the point where they could push other people out of the way. How do major contractors get to the point where, they're outbidding everybody for every, you can't turn left nor right and see something billing without them name attached somewhere. And even when, there's the facade of a spreading of the wealth. You mightn't see their name on the site, but they just subcontracted to somebody. How do you think they get there? How do you think they get away? Through the government. There are people in this country, businesses in this country, if government contracts was to dry up, then for us to sell the Benz and the Range Rover.
Well, the thing is, I always say, and I think you saw it in the switch between the PP regime and the PNM regime. Because in the PP regime, you saw some contractors and some companies got way bigger. You understand what I'm saying? And then
the wings got clipped.
Right, exactly.
And it will happen if the next squad ever get back in again.
Yes. Anyhow, and then bam, we make the switch, and then they come and they see, like, for instance, with the PNM, how they come and try to stifle the used car dealers. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
Which will help the new car dealers flourish.
Right. Yeah.
So
and that's the thing. So when we keep thinking that the state is the answer, the state is the cause of the problem. Is the cause of the problem. And we keep feeling, well, if you vote out this squad, this next benevolent squad of angels are going to come and they're going to change you. Did that squad come from the same system? Did they come from the same financing? They've been financed by big corporations and well, then how they go be any different?
Yeah. And I think that's what Russell Brand was always saying. He says that a lot, that at the end of the day, I don't care about none of them because it's a system.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who you put in the system, they have to play in the system. And once they play in the system, they will never play for you.
Why would they? They're not incentivized to care about you. You understand? And we need to wake up to that. But they love the fact that we get caught up in Trinidad is erasing. So we blind, we don't care. We just, good governance out the window. We don't care what they do. We don't care.
I to be fair, I do think a lot of Trinidadians know what good governance is.
No, well, they might know what it is, but when they see bad governance, they're not complaining unless they're from the other team. You understand? Because what is more important to them is their team. Their team must get points and mustn't let the next side get no points. And so governance is suffering because that is all we care about. And because we in this dotish mindset well, if the Indian get they go pull back from we the African, and the African feel like and the Indian feel if the African, you understand what I'm saying? And they love that because while we are doing that, them doing what them just do. And we're not paying attention to them. And in the States, it's, on other places might be, liberal and conservative argument over dotishness like that. And it doesn't matter because the guys at the top, they play in the game. But again, we need to understand that the system is built to do that.
Our song system built to set you up. Anyway, before we close off, Jude, just let you know I got a message today. Should I read this message for you? And a message for you and all our listeners. So let me get the message. I want to make sure and put the right thing out there. Very important for you guys. Where the hell the message is? It's in our damn group here. Way. All the messages in you right. Dear valued clients, if you are 60 years and over and previously received the second dose of Sinopharm COVID-19 vaccine at our facilities, the SWRHA will call or contact you when you become eligible to
for the third dose.
Offer, just not to offer and eligible to offer and schedule your third dose.
Right. And it should be to be offered the third dose.
Well, that's what I'm seeing here. That's
that's
right. And then in brackets are primary dose. I don't understand what that.
In brackets as well?
Primary dose. Primary dose wasn't supposed to be your first dose?
I don't know.
So you can have primary in the third dose. So is it that a fourth dose is gonna come? So is this the primary dose of your booster?
Listen, from how with the kind of the kind of efficacy, vaccine efficacy deficiency we see in or waning, I am wondering if this is going to be every 3 months, every 4 months thing.
Right. So so basically what they're saying is you're good to get this once you took the vaccine at least 3 months ago. But this is mainly for people 60 years and over. And
well, I think it makes sense from what the science is saying about the efficacy of the vaccine. I don't know what research they're using with the Sinopharm because, it sounds as if they're suggesting that the Sinopharm is less efficacious over time than the others that they're using. But as far as I've been hearing from international sources, AstraZeneca and especially Johnson hasn't been standing up either. So I don't know if that's just the buying into the Chinese thing ain't good kind of attitude, because I don't know what science is backing that.
Is the hardest thing to find is information on Sinopharm.
Right, exactly.
The hardest.
I don't know. Now I know other countries that that used Sinopharm, Gulf countries like Qatar and I think UAE and other places, they had started authorizing boosters of Sinopharm a while now for people in at-risk groups, right? They had started doing it. I know we down here, we're not doing no actual independent research. We just looking, what are they doing over there? They doing that? All right, cool. Well, then if we do that, they can't blame me. That's the attitude now. But, so I think that's what they're using as cover to say, they're going to give the third dose. But, because as I said, I could be wrong, but I haven't been seeing, as you say, any science with respect to
Sinopharm.
Well, the waning of the efficacy of Sinopharm. And I've seen a lot of studies about other vaccines.
Yeah, I've seen the Moderna, the Johnson Johnson, Pfizer,
and they've allowed this. They've started authorizing booster doses of the Pfizer a long time now. So I don't know if it's just people we still have this dotish idea. Well, the Chinese thing ain't good, and the Pfizer is the best, so we ain't telling Pfizer people to get 2 doses. But apparently, Pfizer has. I mean, it's not as bad as Johnson & Johnson, but it is showing that the efficacy or the protection they get from it dips.
Right. And as we on the Pfizer thing, before we jump into the Pfizer pill or whatever they come out with, 2 things with Pfizer. One, this past week there were children in Texas getting their children between the ages of 5 and 12 or 5 to 12 getting their Pfizer jabs. So the thing is, if it looking to start out there, they will be surprised if they start to hear it looking to come here.
Well, yeah, I think they're going to open it up to everybody pretty soon. I think the vaccine companies have been driving for that. They will be driving for that. And I don't think they would. Now, what I hope they won't end up doing is mandating it for kids. I hope they stay away from that. But listen, if people want to jab their kids.
No, but I think here they will try to apply some pressure.
Well, I mean, they're not doing it now for children to go to school.
Well, true.
And for children who are already of age.
But the thing is, I'm hearing people saying that they feel at some point the Prime Minister is going to making it law and mandating.
I think they will run into problems attempting to do that. Listen, I'm kind of done trying to predict what they're going to do. I still, and I could be foolish for this, but I still believe that they don't want to. I still believe that they want to stay away from doing that. Whether it's because they don't want the smoke that comes with it, or they just generally ultimately don't want to do that, but they want to seem as if they want to have that threat there so that they would, because what they really want to do is take the vaccine, right? And so they will have a bullying demeanor, but ultimately they don't want
when it comes to time to fight.
I don't think they want to. I honestly don't think. I mean, you could say all sorts of things about Dr. Rowley, but I honestly don't think he wants to do that, right? But they have to look as if they have to have that bullying demeanor to get to that point. So I think it'll be a long time before they mandate it completely, like put it into law. And there's also going to be a long time before they reach to mandating it for children. I think as long as places like the UK and all over Western Europe still hesitant to vaccinate children, they've been operating with a voluntary vaccine situation for children going to school. In the UK, you don't have to even take measles, MMR vaccines to children to go to school. That's not mandated in the UK, right? Of course, almost everybody does it, but it's not mandated. You're not barred from the school system if you don't get that. But so imagine if they have that attitude towards conventional vaccines, attitude towards the COVID vaccine, they're still not recommending it for use. They're still not recommending or advising widespread vaccination for young children. They're kind of leaving that up to the parents and the individuals themselves. So as long as those countries exist and they're not ending up in a big giant morgue, there will be questions to be asked. So if they could survive, why are Django in us? So
now, I don't know if you saw this as well this week. Some information came out that claiming that Pfizer withheld certain information from the FDA,
right,
and whatnot. Camera cut off there. So you just said this could just be audio. We probably pass still or somebody camera battery dead. Yeah.
What I saw was that there was some questions about the data collection. Pfizer hired a private company to conduct the studies, the trial studies of the vaccine, and that company is being accused of not following proper procedure and also in the collection of the data and the reporting of the data. That's what I understood. That was published in a UK medical journal. The whistleblowers report was published.
What they were saying is that somebody decided that they were going to bring light to the situation, and as a result, that person was fired. Somebody that V name for Venia or something.
Yeah, a woman.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know. I don't know if anything will come out of it.
I don't think anything is. I don't think anything is going to come out of it, because at this stage, who wants to admit what health authority is going to give any credence to the idea that these vaccines aren't perfect? You understand what I'm saying? Listen, they've put in their lot. They've thrown their lot in with these vaccines. So they're going to bury that as fast as possible. And it's still safe and effective. Even if there was some problems, still safe and effective. Take it, hush them out, right? But this is what I was saying before, where all the critical thinking skills went out of the door. Pharmaceutical companies have been found in the past to have manipulated the data that came out of their studies when it came to drugs that they wanted to have approved in the past. That has happened before, right? Why on earth would they not be willing or motivated to do the same thing in this instance? I'm not saying they did.
But why not?
And all people are saying is, well, And
I think now you have an even better chance of people turning a blind eye because it's a pandemic.
Exactly. So people are going to rush to, they want you to rush because they want the situation solved. So, and all people were saying is, listen, I don't trust. I want some more information. I want some more time to pass. And if you say that, apparently, a wacko who believe they have nanobots in the vaccine, and it's so retarded. But that's what the conversation has devolved into. So you trying to tell anybody that now, boy, it's like you're trying to tell them God you're trying to tell a Christian God do exist. So, they'll just stick the finger in the air, la, vaccine, say vaccine,
Well, I mean, right now, so Pfizer's come up with their pill. They came up with a price yet for it? Because
they haven't released what the price would be.
Merck says what's called it again? Cost of their pill is $7 something.
The cost of pills, not the cost of the course.
Yeah, the cost of the course.
The cost of the course. The course.
Yeah.
Right.
The cost of the course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a 10-day course.
Right.
It's 2 pills per day for 10 days. It's $700 US for the course of pills.
Right? Yeah.
Molnupiravir is the name of theirs. I don't know what the name of the Pfizer is. They haven't released, as far as I'm aware, they haven't released the price. They say it's more efficacious than the Merck though. Like Merck said it was 50% effective against preventing death and hospitalization. Pfizer says their own is 89%. But who knows?
Right.
That's what they're saying. And that's what I was saying earlier. Listen, if they get up and running and manufactured quickly and distributed across the world.
Manufactured and then to distribute. Remember, Pfizer reached the States. They started, I think, in December, late December or something. So it was when they started distributing in the States. And when
You
it
mean
reached
vaccines?
Here, the vaccines.
Right.
When it reached here, so about 3 months ago. So probably about...
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that along with the natural immunity, because more people getting infected over time, vaccines available, it is possible that we could turn a corner in this drastically. It's not, these things, I mean, I looked at how pandemics came to an end in the past, and it's not unusual for these things to just drop off very, very quickly, you know, so with I'm not saying it will, I'm no expert in that, but I'm just saying it is possible. And with that, along with antivirals, and now they're saying this, fluvoxamine. Now they have a published study in the Lancet giving some sort of credence to the fact that fluvoxamine is a viable treatment. Early stage, first year, they now start to detect symptoms. It doesn't stop the replication of the virus, apparently, just stops the formation of cytokines, which tends to cause the problems that lead people to getting problems to breathe and having to go to the hospital. So fluvoxamine has been now approved as, people have been using it apparently for COVID so far.
Right.
But, it's now, they finally did a proper randomized controlled study, and it has proven to be effective. I think 35 to 39% is what they range it at in preventing,
death and hospitalization.
And that is a cheap one. Apparently the cost of that is $4 US. Same 10 days treatment, but you don't have to treat people in the hospital.
Right.
You know, and this is, and I mean, I know this, we come into a close now, but this is one of the things I want, this disappoints me all the time. Where are the questions to the health authorities here in Trinidad about these things? Are these things, because I've heard a lot about monoclonal antibodies. I've never heard anything mentioned of that here.
I think we've got to can't pronounce it.
You keep saying that. But vaccine. Okay, so the people who are ending up in the hospital, how are they being treated? You know what I mean? Is it that monoclonal antibodies, there's a short, no, it could be that we could be interested in getting it, but there's just not a supply for us. Okay.
But say that.
But, you know, fluvoxamine, cheap. Is it that now that, you know, it's been, this is not some conspiracy website saying it. This is the Lancet. And I think it's also been approved by some health bodies across the world for use, emergency use against COVID. Are we going to invest in that? Are we going to start treating, or are we simply waiting for the WHO to tell it, hey,
you could use this
while people dying in the hospital? We just, you know, just put them on drips and see if their immune system helps.
The thing is, are we even getting into what's going on in hospitals across the world? Why I say that is because it's easy for us to wait to hear who's saying what, or WHO and them. But the thing is, does WHO know exactly what's going on in each hospital?
Of course not, because that's a big bureaucratic organization. So they can't be in touch with physicians and practitioners all over the world. That's why what you should be doing is you should be talking like the guy, Vera was saying, talking to your counterparts in these other countries. Say, hey, what has been working for you all? You know what I mean?
We still have I would say an unusual amount of deaths, you know. And people don't really realize that we have a real high death rate.
Case fatality rate.
Fatality rate in Trinidad and Tobago. And I mean,
some of these people, is it that we could be saving them, but we're just not interested in finding any treatments that could work? You know, is it that, are we telling, because in Florida, they had this big campaign on to inform people from the time they get symptomatic, get tested and get onto the monoclonal antibodies. Because the monoclonal antibodies and all these antivirals as well, not going to work if you wait till the virus has replicated in your system and you're in a bad way. It's not to help at that point. So you get diagnosed, you're symptomatic, especially if you're in a particular risk profile, get on this thing immediately, and it could begin to work on your system and help you to avoid perils, the worst perils of COVID. But is that even happening here? Now, it could be that it's hard. There's no supply for us. We don't, it's not cost effective, whatever. But my thing is, why is nobody interested in that?
Well, and the thing is, and I think it's because the politicians, even if they know, they like, we need having that conversation earlier because Trinidadians always have that dance, and it's only Jude and Aldo and one or two of them, and Vera and them, they usually dig up in them thing, and we nearly had to study about them. We know the most of all is dance. I'm not saying that, what the politicians be saying, I think this be saying. Most of all is dance, so we're not going to explain us that thing, or we're not going to, we know certain things, but we're not trying to beat up with that.
But what about the doctors? The doctors who have to treat with the patients. I think what we'll have to do, we'll have to split this episode into two, like a part 1 and part 2. But I think what about the doctors themselves? They have to treat the patient, so they should be saying, listen, I don't care what the WHO say, I don't care what CNN say about this drug or that drug. I want to save patients, right? And a doctor who wants to save patients, once the whatever they're using has a safety profile that they're familiar with, or they should be clamoring saying, hey, listen, because one way of clearing up the beds is when people in a high risk profile get this disease.
This is really, because I go to pass people about watching the time and the curfew ain't done yet. There about 10 more minutes before the curfew. But I think the next thing is a lot of the doctors here, especially the ones in who work in the government institutions, a lot of them are cowards, because I think a lot of them don't even want to oppose what the hierarchy is saying.
Right,
because,
okay.
I mean, like, for whatever reason, Trinidad and Tobago, once you know you're kind of in a government job, you just feel a bit frightened to oppose the
authorities.
higher-ups. And it could be that. It could be like, hey, we think this. Because I telling you, I know a person who the head doctor in a private hospital told them, hey, all you working, grab all your ivermectin, hold it.
Right.
And someone saying, take out 2 tablets or however often, right? But if you catch anything and start to take your ivermectin.
Right.
But it's a private hospital.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? I'm sure if you talk to a nurse who working with doctors, you would say, nah, them doctors would never say something like that.
Right.
I don't know. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
But we had to wrap it up.
That's sad.
Yeah, because Rowley curfew. Rowley boy, just say curfew had a done boy, dog boy. Go from here now, boy. Curfew had a done boy.
All right.
Right?
All right.
But for right now, we got it done because you had to reach him now, boy.
But yeah, I think we definitely had to split this one in 2 because this conversation was too good to stop in the middle of it.
Yeah.
Right.
Cool.
So, until next time.
Yeah, man. Easy.